All right. So I think it's fascinating that the Penguins throughout this Crosby, Malkin, Letang era had this philosophy of we're going for the cup. We're going for the cup every year. This is the year we're going for the cup. And then last year at the trade deadline, they trade Gensel. And this year at July 1st, they made a bunch of moves and it doesn't look like they're going for the cup this year. Do you agree with this philosophy change that they're I mean, I'm not saying they're not trying to win a championship, but when you don't make the playoffs for 2 years in a row, it seems like they've changed their philosophy.
I mean, do I agree with it or do I like it? Because those are two
Both.
completely different answers. Okay. Do I like it? Obviously not. I mean, Crosby's still playing at a high level. He scored 42 goals last year. He was 36. You don't have players playing at that level and don't compete. Sadly, they don't exactly have pieces around him to win right now. I mean, he's without a top line left winger, a true top six proven left winger, I should say, because Drew O'Connor did pretty well in that spot last year, towards the end when they were on that push. Um, they have a lot of questions in the top four defensively. I mean, the lot of questions is really just will Graves bounce back or will he be uniceable? Uh, and then I'm there. If you look at Florida right now, you look at Colorado right now, you look at Dallas, you look at Edmonton. Those are all teams that you think could probably make a run at it this year and going forward. The Penguins are way closer to competing for a lottery pick than they are for competing for the Stanley Cup.
They are.
Structurally. Yeah. I mean, do I like it? Obviously not, but the old way isn't working. Last year, Dubas took a bunch of moves. The Riley Smith trade should have been smart. He should have worked out. It didn't.
You
Eric
know,
Carlson, he didn't perform as well as we thought he would. But that trade, if you don't think about the year he had and you just look at the pieces that Dubas moved for Eric Carlson, that's a great trade. That's wizardry. He got rid of Petrie and Granlund and DeSmith, and he moved a first round pick and he got Eric Carlson.
every sports talk show is like, what if we trade all our bad guys for all their good guys? And we say, oh, you're stupid. No team would ever go from that. That's literally what Dubas did. He
That's
traded
literally what Dubas
all of
did.
our bad guys for a good guy.
Yeah, he traded all of our bad players for their one good player. Like obviously he didn't perform last year like people thought he would, coming off of 100-point Norris season. But if you just look at that trade, which is the move that Dubas made, that's a great move.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
You know, we look at we look at them now in July 2024 and say, "Wow, those are some dumb moves." Ryan Graves, what's wrong with him? Why did you get Carlson? At the time, we loved those moves.
oh yeah,
And on paper, getting Riley Smith was a great move. Who
yeah,
knew he would want not like Pittsburgh?
yeah. Who knew that he would stop playing hockey midway through November? No
Yeah,
one. Certainly not Kyle Dubas. And I'm obviously not like a Dubas super fan or anything. He makes bad decisions like every GM. The Graves is looking to not be a great decision. Um, but I mean, Eller, that turned out to be pretty smart. He was
yeah.
a very solid bottom six forward. He scored the most goals in the bottom six last year. Graves should have been. I mean, never before in his career had he been completely uniceable, which is what he was at the end of the year and for most of the year, actually.
I
And
don't
obviously the Carl trade. Yeah.
I don't understand. I mean, and we've seen this happen
Oh yeah.
We've seen this happen before the Penguins. When they got Sergei Gonchar,
Oh yeah.
his first year was horrible. Paul Martin, his first year was horrible, and then he was awesome. Like I don't understand why it takes some players, especially defensemen, a year to be good. I think Ryan Graves is gonna be okay. This I hope.
Yeah. I think he'll be a very solid fourth, fifth defenseman. I don't think he'll be like Bobby Orr, but I also don't think that he'll be anywhere near as bad as last year. Um, Obviously that might come back to haunt me, and he might be somehow worse than last year. But I mean, even if you look at 2 years ago when Hextall signed Jan Ruda, I mean, Ruda had just come off a pretty solid season in Tampa Bay. He was with Hedman for most of the year, and they were really like a top 10, 15 pairing in the league. He was a solid player, and then he came here, and now, he was a Penguin for a year.
Yeah, yeah, and I think
He
he
was
was
also
hurt too.
included in the Carlson trade. I completely forgot about
Oh
him.
yeah,
That
yeah,
that goes to, it's there's something about defensemen coming to Pittsburgh and it not going super
yeah,
well.
yeah. I just wonder at what point did Dubas make this decision to say, okay, forget about this, going for the cup every year and trading all our draft picks and all this stuff and mortgaging the future. I wonder at what point did he say, I wonder if that was the plan all along, or if he said, hey guys, this ain't happening. We gotta do something. I don't know. But I don't know. It
I
just seems.
I
Sorry, go
definitely
ahead.
wouldn't assume that it was like the plan all along. I mean, you don't trade for Carlson and then think about, stockpiling draft picks. Um, I think he just looked at how the roster performed last year and he said it would be delusional and ridiculous to waste more assets if this is a sinking ship.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. I mean, the
yeah,
writing's on the wall. You can't
yeah,
even make the playoffs.
yeah. You can't make the playoffs. I
You
mean,
can't win the cup if you
no.
don't get in.
Yeah, exactly. It's very hard to go all in if you can't even make the top 16 that make it in, top
Yeah.
eight in the conference, division, whatever.
Yeah. So of the newcomers that came in July 1st,
Sure.
Matt Grelzik, Blake Lizotte, Kevin Hayes, Beauvillier.
Billier, sure.
Is there anyone that you're excited about or like
Blake
do you
Lizotte. I am quite excited for Blake Lizotte. He's a little undersized, um, but he's fast. And I mean, coming off Riley Smith last year, if you want a player who works his tail off and gives everything every shift, that's Blake Lizotte.
he's the anti-Riley Smith?
He's the anti-Riley Smith. He draws penalties like a madman. Like, you know how sometimes you're looking at a player and they don't draw a penalty because they don't keep moving their feet?
Yeah.
That's not the problem with Lizotte. Lizotte draws penalties. Um, he's pretty fast. He's a pretty solid play driving fourth line center. He's definitely better at center than on the wing. I watched a lot of Kings games last year, and I liked him. So if we're going in on a bunch of bottom six players, I'm happy that he was one of them.
I think that's the two biggest things that the Penguins need to improve on is one, the power play, but two, their bottom six. Their bottom six the past couple years has is they're not even if they were just average, we'd be okay. They've been
Yeah.
horrible. I ain't seen with the power play, but it's like something gotta change. I'm just happy they did something because the bottom six has just been depressing. It's like, Crosby's doing his job. Malkin's okay. Latang's okay. But it seems like the rest of the team is just garbage. Like, God, it has no way to go but up.
I mean, we say that, and a part of me wants to believe that. But a part of me also realizes that we were only the 29th worst power play in the league last year, and it's not guaranteed that it will be better. It's not certain. It
Oh
can,
my.
I don't think it will, but it could, just
Well, they say that this new coach, what is his name, David?
Dan Quinn, sure.
Dan, um, they say he'll stand up to Sullivan. Like, oh boy. I mean,
If nothing else, I think it'll be entertaining to hear two guys with really thick Boston accents just yelling at each other behind the bench.
guys, we need to park the car in Harvard Yard.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you know what? Every time Sullivan says forward, I think like an angel gets his wings or something like that. I love that, because I'm sure he tries to be like, Pittsburghers don't try to bring out their Yinzer accent. He
Right.
try to keep it in check. So I'm sure he tries to keep his Boston accent in check, but he says forward, like, yes.
I feel like when there's a really bad game and you see his interview afterwards, that's when he's really, really thick Boston accent. I think it comes out when he's angry and he can't check it.
I can imagine like if like in the locker room, like he's yelling at the players, like, Coach, we understood like half of what you said. I don't know. You're
Coach, we understood some of those words
He's like,
individually.
yeah, I we get that you're mad, but could you like I don't know, text us or something? I don't know.
Voice to text.
uh, Another thing that was a bit of a surprise is they re-signed Alex Nedeljkovic, and I don't think anybody saw that coming. They thought everybody thought he was a
Absolutely not.
goner, and I the day that the Penguins get rid of Tristan Jarry, I'm throwing a party.
I
I
will
hate that
be
dude.
there
I've
in
hated that dude for
attendance.
years.
Now,
I don't.
did this hatred start let's just say double overtime in an Islanders playoff series, or was this 'cause that's when it started for me.
You just ruined my week. Thank you very much. Yeah, yeah. When he gave away an entire playoff series,
Whole
that's
series.
I think that was the start of maybe I didn't like the guy. Yeah, I just he's not the dude. He's
Not
not the guy.
not the dude.
Like when you need him the most, he's not there. And I'm
Not
not even talking playoffs. I'm talking the second half of the season. He
second half of the
barely
year.
shows up.
Have you ever seen a goalie that consistently gets worse after the All-Star break?
No, no.
Every year.
Yeah,
The one year that he didn't get worse after the All-Star break, he got hurt.
yeah, yeah. It's
And that's
it's
all
it's
Louis
always
Domingue
something.
in the playoff starter. Like, is it a conditioning issue? Is he just unlucky? What is it? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah,
whatever it is, it's
I
not
uh
my favorite thing in the world.
I like that last year um they played Ned every game
Oh
because
yeah.
Jari was hurt or whatever. And then when Jari was healthy and they were out of the playoffs, they still played Ned on
Yep.
games that didn't
Last
even
game of the
matter. And
year.
like Ned was totally exhausted.
He had to be
Like
completely gassed. He played
yeah,
what, 12 games straight?
yeah, exactly. They
Ridiculous.
just played him game after game after game. And Jari's like, hey, I'm good now. Like, you know what? That's okay. We're good.
You
We're
know,
good.
that's good that you're good, Tristan. Good to know.
Oh my goodness. Oh my god. Yeah, so I'm happy they brought Ned back. Apparently
I
they
like that a
have.
lot. I thought he could have gotten at least more term or more money on, the free market, but I'm not
Yeah,
complaining.
yeah, yeah. He's another anti-Riley Smith. He actually likes Pittsburgh.
It is.
And the dude's from Cleveland and he's a
I know.
Browns fan and he
He's
still
he's
likes it in
Pittsburgh's
Pittsburgh.
favorite Browns fan.
Yeah, yeah. I think the dude rocked a Miles Garrett jersey one time
Oh,
coming
after
into
he like pitched a shutout against maybe Washington. I don't
yeah,
remember.
like
Or the Browns jersey. I mean, that's some chutzpah, right?
you know what? You know what? Do your thing, man. Do your thing. It's not like
Want to
he's
play
rocking a
like that?
Flyers jersey or
I'll
something.
buy you the Miles Garrett jersey
It's
myself.
right. It's
You're gonna
right.
play
If you
like
keep
that.
winning, I don't care what you do. Apparently there's Bloomquist, who is supposed to be the goalie of the future or something like that. And then that Russian dude that maybe
Marshev.
maybe he'll
Right,
be
right, Sergey Marshev?
maybe he'll be in this country or maybe he won't or something like that. So, um,
I don't
yeah,
know if
either
he will
way,
or won't, but he was apparently at a dev camp and he was spectacular. I heard he was pretty darn good.
that would be amazing. That would be amazing
I would
if
be. I mean, it's never a bad thing to have too many great, young
yeah,
goalies in the system.
yeah, yeah.
It's
So
There's worse
yeah,
problems to have than having a couple goalies that could show up if somebody gets hurt.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, the day Jari's gone, I'm going to. It'll be like in Star Wars when they defeated the Empire and the whole galaxy just threw celebrations or something. Every planet threw a celebration. Or something. That's what it's going to be like. I don't even have fireworks. I'll buy some. I don't care.
Buy some.
People be like, why is he setting off fireworks in July or in November or something? Like,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
I mean,
Tris Tristan Jari Liberation Day was what I will call it.
like that. You know, it wouldn't be the worst idea in the world to trade him while he's having a good first part of the year.
Oh my goodness. He he gets like one win or something like that. Get him, get him, go. Look, he's good. He's good.
I mean, because he was last year, he was great until like mid-December, end of December.
Here we go.
And he was still pretty decent until after the All-Star break, in which, you know, then he started to be
It
less.
would it would be funny if Dubas had like trade talks with somebody and they're like November going into December and the trade talks are just ongoing on and it's like we'll see. He's like no, you want him now. You want
Oh,
take him
you want
now.
him now? Trust
Before
me.
he's Tristan Jari is like bad milk. Like he has an expiration date.
Does have an expiration date, and that's
Be
usually sometime at the end of January, early
right.
February.
Best by January 29th. And then he goes bad. He goes sour
Bad.
like milk.
Used before.
Um, so they have this philosophy of we're not mortgaging the future. Okay, fine. But my problem with this is we're gonna keep all the draft picks. These are 18-year-old kids. The people that they draft now, maybe 5 years from now, they'll do something. And then 5 years from now, half his team will be gone. Like I don't understand. Like if you're gonna say we want young people or something like that, prospects get someone in their 20s.
Well, I mean, historically, Dubas has done fairly well drafting. You look in Toronto, you look at Matthew Nyes, he was a second round pick. And that's a team that love to go all in and throw their first round picks. So I mean, him getting second and third round picks, I'm not mad at that. But maybe it's harder than we think to get, young players. Um, but he says he wants to get younger, and technically these draft picks in the future are all, probably about 15 right now because he's getting them in 2027 or 2028 for the Riley Smith
Right.
deal.
Right.
Well, they're about 14 years old right now, but
there's,
so they are younger.
there's some eighth grader that's
Yeah.
gonna be wearing a Penguins
Well, he's
jersey
gonna
10
be a
years from now.
Penguin.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
I mean, yeah, obviously I would love them to, you know, be back in that window where they could go all in and move their future for, you know, a first line left winger to put with Sid.
I,
Um, so
I
obviously I don't love it, but it's not completely dumb.
see. I think people in Pittsburgh are scared of the word rebuild
Oh
because
yeah.
they've seen the Pittsburgh Pirates for the last 40 years. And it's like they've been in perpetual rebuild mode for this time. It's like, oh my God, we're not going to be good until 2070 or something like no. Other teams actually do this and they do it well. It doesn't take 10 years to be good again. It's a
Not
salary
usually.
cap league, people. We can be
Yeah,
better
okay. That's
sooner.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
yeah.
but
It,
uh, it seems like as far as their prospects go now, the one that has the most promise is Braden Yeager.
oh yeah.
Um, I have this dream scenario because this actually happened, I believe, with Letang. Because I think the rule is if you're in junior, you could play with the NHL club for like the first
It's
9 or
10
10
games, I think, right?
games.
Yeah.
And then they have to decide whether you go back. And I think with Letang, he was so good in those first 10 games, they're like, screw this, we're keeping you.
Well, that happened with Wyatt Johnston in Dallas a couple in like 2 years ago, not last year, the year before last year. I mean, if he has a really good training camp and he scores a couple goals in the preseason, who's to say he doesn't get those 10 games? And maybe they try him in the top six, and maybe he does well, and maybe he makes them make that decision to keep him.
I
It would be
mean,
nice. Is it
I
likely to
mean,
happen? I don't know, but I would love it.
I mean, they there is an opening there. I mean,
Yeah,
who knows what's going to happen on that first line left wing? I
yeah.
don't know. Do you think Drew O'Connor can pull that off for a full year, being the left
Ooh,
wing on that top line?
I don't know, but I do know that I would like him a lot better in the bottom six because that gives you depth, which is something that the Penguins have sorely lacked for years and years.
I know Crosby and Rust are great together, but I
Yeah,
think Rust would be perfect. Imagine a third line with O'Connor and Rust. My
yeah.
goodness.
But then, of course, it's just Crosby on the top line. There's no one else.
Yeah, what do we do?
It's like, he doesn't exactly have.
Yeah, yeah, I
If
don't know.
O'Connor's on the third line and also Rust is on the third line, then
Right, right. Um, do you know what happened with Raquel? Because that's another mystery.
I mean, so much went wrong last year, right? I mean, Smith fell off the face of the earth. Raquel he stunk. I mean, he was just brutal. Graves was the worst he could have possibly been. The power play was historically bad.
Yeah,
I mean, how much, and the bottom six, of course, was non existent. I mean, how much more could have possibly gone wrong?
yeah, yeah.
So,
The
so
only,
there is a part of me that thinks that maybe all of those things won't go wrong this year.
the
Maybe only one or two of them will go wrong, and it'll be at
right.
least interesting to watch them.
The only thing that went right was Crosby didn't get hurt. That
Yeah,
was it.
that was beautiful. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
that was best case scenario in a Penguins don't make the playoffs world. He still gets
That
his point per game season, and
Yeah. And that
yeah,
had to kill him. This has to kill him 2 years in a row not making the playoffs, which just like I was just really surprised that happened yet again because I thought that was just
yeah.
a one-time thing. But yeah, see, I think the power play is going to be much better because of Bunting. I think Bunting is Kunitz 2.0, Hornquist 2.0. He's exactly what they need. Somebody that just stays in that net front presence and causes havoc. I think that's going to make a big difference, and they're going to have him for all years. So
He's
maybe,
scrappy, and it can't go unsaid how much he rejuvenated Gino last year.
yeah.
I mean, it was looking bad. And then Bunting showed up and his parents showed up, and then suddenly he's there's flashes of old Gino again. I mean,
Come on, guys. Does somebody have a spare apartment? Let Gino's parents just stay here all year.
that would be nice.
You know, the poor guy, his parents are in Russia, his family's in Florida. You know, when you're 30 some year old guy, you get lonely. they do have that. Let's get him a pass to what was that, Coupe de Ville, or one of those places that have like the arcade games and a bowling alley or something like that. Like maybe he just needs something to do during the evenings or something. I don't know. I
You
don't
never
know.
know. I mean, it's worth a shot.
Um, do you think they'll do anything else? Or I mean, I don't even know how much cap space they have left.
Thank you,
Um,
Washington Capitals, for that.
yeah, thanks, Washington. Thanks for taking the stupid site. Jeez.
I think they have about 2 or 3 million left, or so. I want to say. I mean, they have so many fourth line centers. They have so many depth forwards. Maybe they'll move like a Nola Chari
Right.
to to a team that badly wants a fourth line center. Um, I mean, and in terms of defensemen on the right side, it's probably going to be Jack St. Ivany in the third slot, the third pair. I'd like that at least. I liked him last year.
He seems good.
But on
Yeah.
the left, I mean, you've got the other Sebastian Aho. You've got Ludwig and Shea. Um, and I mean,
Yeah.
Graves
There's
played like a third pairing defenseman last year at best. So I mean, there's some questions.
every time I look at the Penguins salary cap stuff, it always shocks me that they're still paying Jack Johnson
Oh yeah.
like $1 million.
This is the
And
last year of it though. So next year they could
no, next
yeah.
year is the last
Oh,
year of
next year is the
this.
last year. Okay.
25,
Well,
26 are still paying him 916,000. Like,
well,
oh
they can
my
wait for that
goodness.
to expire and then they can sign him to another max contract and pay him for the rest of our lives. Just for good times, just for good measure, old
I
time's sake.
mean, the buyout thing is just hilarious. When you see a player get bought out,
Yeah.
a team is basically saying, "We hate you so much that
We're gonna
we'll
pay
pay
you to
you to
go
go
away.
away. I don't care if we pay you for the next 10 years. We just don't want we just go away."
I mean, you look at Ryan Suter. Right now he's getting paid by Minnesota and Dallas to go away.
What about
And the Blues, who I think signed him, right? He went to the Blues.
I
So
think
he's getting paid by 3 different teams right now.
that has to be weird.
It's gotta be
Just
great.
pulling these checks up from everywhere.
He's
Um,
just going through the Central Division and getting bought out.
isn't that what happened with Kevin Hayes also? I
I
think
think Philly is just eating half of his salary. I think they ate half of his salary when they sent him to the Blues.
yeah.
So right now Philly is paying half of his salary, which is gonna be funny if he ends up being any good,
It would be hilarious.
right?
Yeah.
Imagine if realistically, best case scenario, maybe he has a pretty good year and maybe he gets moved at the deadline. And Philly pays for us to get a second pick, a third round pick or a fourth round pick.
That's the other weird thing about
Mm,
all the moves they made were like almost all 1 year deals.
yep.
So in theory, and I hope this doesn't happen, in theory, if the Penguins suck again, they could trade at the trade deadline, they could be
They can trade
sellers and
everyone.
trade.
Fire
Yeah.
sale. Everyone must go.
Everyone must go. What do they say? The best deal of the year, the best sale of the year.
Sale of the year, slightly used. Matt Grizzlick, gently used. Matt Nieto. Is he still on IR? What's going on with Matt Nieto?
I'm not sure.
Be honest, did you kind of a little bit forget who Matt Nieto was for a second? Because that happens to me.
All
I
I
kind of
know about him is he has that really heartwarming story. I think he wore the
80,
like
83 for his sister,
83
right?
for his
Yeah,
sister. Yeah, that's
he
all
had a
I
great
know.
mustache. That's and
Oh, I
we
haven't seen
last
his
see it in
mustache.
November. Oh yeah, he looked like Rooster from Top Gun.
Love
Great,
it. Love
he's
it.
great.
Um, so with all these people that they got,
Mhm.
does that give room for like Pustonin and you know I feel like we've been talking about Sam Poulin for for 10 years now. I'm guessing this dude is just a he's just a career minor leaguer. I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't.
I mean, he's been up in the big leagues, for a couple games, and I mean, he never was that impressive, I mean, it never was like when you're a young player, sometimes you have to force the team to play you, and you have to do that by showing up and playing well, and he never really did that. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not saying that he was bad, he just wasn't noticeable.
If it hasn't happened already, I don't think it's gonna
Yeah.
happen.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love for him to just randomly explode and be that third line center we always hoped he'd be.
Never
It
know.
probably isn't gonna happen, but it might.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, how can people find you and follow you and get more of your work?
Oh yeah. I have a website, www.pitthappens.com. That's PITT happens. And then I'm on Twitter. Um, you can follow Pitt Happens. I believe it's a one in the username though, instead of an I, because that was already taken. And beggars can't be choosers. Um, and then I'm on Twitter at H_Kirk6. Yeah.
I will always call it Twitter.
Yeah.
I don't,
I mean,
to me, X is the dumbest thing ever. And it's like when people say I'm on X, it's like, oh, okay, you're high, or what do you
yeah,
want?
like is that the new slang? Is that
Do
what
you
we
want
call it?
Molly too? Like
Special
what other
K,
drugs are you on?
Special
Like
K, X. What do you got
right,
these
like
days? I mean,
yeah,
I
I don't
can't keep
yeah.
track of them all.
Will always be Twitter. And
Oh yeah.
hey, I mean, you've been in Flyers territory and as a Penguins fan and you survived.
I
So
did.
that's really impressive.
It was really something. I mean,
See, this is what bugs me. Like in baseball, the Pirates and the Phillies hardly ever play together. It doesn't matter. They're in different divisions. In football, the Steelers and the Eagles, they almost never play there. They're in whole different
once every
conferences.
4 years. Yeah, I
The
mean,
Pittsburgh and Philadelphia should play each other. They should always be in the same division, no matter what, because that
they
is
should always
some
hate each other because it's
they
fun.
do. They do. There was some real hatred there. And it's like
Oh
the
yeah.
best thing about sports.
Oh yeah. I mean, one of my, you know, one of my earliest memories is saying that I like the Penguins and, getting spitballs and stuff. I mean, I think it's important for these rivalries. And, the Penguins and the Flyers at the height of their rivalries, you could see just how great that is, and it's good entertainment. And that should be the same in football and baseball.
They put Crosby's face on the urinal
Oh
of
yeah,
all the urinals in the Philadelphia arena.
dedication.
That is, yeah.
There's a lot of bathrooms in the Wells
Like
Fargo.
like you said, if you
That's a
look up the
lot of work.
definition of living rent free in someone's head,
Oh
it
yeah,
is Crosby with the Flyers. And I don't know what the stats are, but I guarantee Crosby has more goals against the Flyers than any other team. It's
he
one.
actually has the most goals against the Flyers in history.
Love it.
I was there when he broke that record. I celebrated very hard, and I got some very polite looks from my seat neighbors.
Awesome. Awesome. Hey, thank you so much. This was awesome.
Absolutely. Thanks for doing this. This is great.
All right. Hey, I'll see you.
All right. Bye.